something to
There's a leader to the red elevator.
I went on the choice.
Oh, okay.
You're hearing things.
I'm hearing other people's voices now.
More modern day, because I haven't been here having it like a lot of his writing is sort of like with nowadays. But you know, we tell
She started coming in later.
okay. Yeah, sure.
I did a little bit of running, but that was probably just. I think I do like 5Ks and 10Ks, but I'm not like serious.
Although, distance running is more.
Yeah, that life really
Yeah, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to play basketball, so that's not something new. Although I kind of like
I'm just leaving everything. Too much. I wanted to introduce Elder Sue. He's with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and we're lucky that he is the Chelsea Hotel is able to allow us to have the smudging ceremony, which has already been taking place. So I will just leave it to Elder Sue to begin our program with a welcome.
Magazine Dodem, Mississauga and Dow, New Credit Dunji, Mkagige, Wasa Kabinjabam, Gwenishki Babigum, Kadaka Subwadak, we the Bimshana, we don't Nishnam, Asia Basico, Octade, Asia Basico, and then down there. And it says, welcome, you come far, and we waited long. Come and sit down beside us and share in the same food that allies our hunger. And then may we rise together with one good heart and one good mind.
Thank you so much, Elder Sue. I'm feeling much calmer now after I've kind of been hiding here, but I really appreciate that beautiful welcome. So I'm not going to speak too long. You would have received the symposium handbook, which has a lot of details about what's going on this weekend, and also the Inheritance of Activism celebrating 75 years, which is telling the story of the founders of our organization. And I think it's stories that aren't that well known, so that's why we spent an enormous amount of time putting this booklet together. So I hope you'll read that. And, I've said a lot of these booklets, so I don't really feel the need to talk too much now, other than to thank, I'd really like to thank 3 key people who really helped me from staying sane through this whole long process. And first off, Kristen Kiyomi Perry of Montreal. Just turned 30 and 29. Okay, so she's under 30. Sorry. Well, okay. So it's just so wonderful for a younger person to step up as she has, and she's super organized. And the reality is that to pull some of these things off, you have to be a really organized person. It doesn't happen magically. So I really appreciate Kristen's help. And then also Derek Sakawe, who's been helping with the video and handbook, and now he's helping. He's also one of the after-party hosts. And then someone who you might not realize also has put in a huge amount of work into this Inheritance of Activism booklet is Suzanne Hartman, one of our board members. She's sitting at the back and at an unsustainable pace. But, I've been saying to people, it only happens every 25 years. So, and I should say, this Inheritance of Activism theme is meaningful to me because it was in my mind, because I was at the 40th anniversary dinner celebration, and that was organized by my mother. So I felt quite an impetus to organize this event. And although my mother is sort of regretting that it's taking away from my time with her. Anyway, okay, so I hope you will read the handbook because there is a lot of good information in there. And I also want to mention the Human Rights Committee and the Toronto NAJC board. We were really able to form a wonderful partnership in bringing this together. So I'm really grateful for all the committee members and for the board. And I've been saying this to people. People say to me, why don't you get help? And I said, I have lots of people helping me. And I'm keeping them very busy. And I'm sure they're going to be happy when I run out of ideas. So I do have a lot of help. And I'm so grateful to all these people who are helping me. So on the theme itself, I'm not going to say too much because, like I say, there's a lot in the handbook and the booklet. But I am going to call on 2 of the Young Leaders Committee members, Alex Rafuse Okuda and Ronnie Kobayashi. Sorry, I kind of stumbled on that, didn't I? And if they can come up together, they are also going to say a few words about what this symposium, what the theme of the symposium means to them. So thank you. Welcome, Alex and Ronnie.
Good morning. Thank you, Lynn, for the introduction, and thank you everyone responsible for organizing this event. I'm really excited to be here and have this opportunity to share why I believe in the importance of this weekend and its theme, an inheritance of activism. Our community has an amazing legacy of human rights, social justice, and community activism. And keeping this legacy alive is not important. It is important, not just for future Japanese Canadians, but for this country as a whole. I am a mixed-race Yonsei. But when I'm asked, what are you? I usually say I'm Canadian or I'm Japanese Canadian. I love this country. It's not perfect, but I don't think any is. I was born here, though. My friends, my family, my life are here. And I believe in the values this country espouses: freedom, democracy, equality, and at least while I've been alive, multiculturalism. Now, there are many examples of this country failing to defend or even trampling on these values, the internment being one, and I'm sure we'll talk about more this weekend. I'm comforted to know, however, that this country can be held accountable to these values, and I know that because of the work and achievements of this community. What does it mean to be Japanese Canadian? How you identify and the meaning ascribed to that identity is something very complex and deeply personal, rooted in a complicated web of thoughts and experiences, both our own and those of others. Its meaning changes as the people using that label change. Activism is what allowed older generations of JCs to reject the legacies of shame and trauma passed down after the internment. And this legacy of activism is the reason why, when I say I'm Japanese Canadian, I say it with a tremendous sense of pride. Now, I may be more connected to the history of our community than most my age or younger, but I'm born after redress, so while I recognize its significance, I can't connect to it on the same level as the Nisei and the Sansei. Our community is increasingly diverse, and this is a trend that will only continue. Yonsei, Gosei, and Rokusei are almost exclusively a mixed heritage, and born further and further away from the key events that shaped the lives of our grandparents and our great-grandparents. And then there are the Shinijusha, who have no familial connection to the internment or redress. All of these people have their own interests and experiences, and will call themselves and be called Japanese Canadians. But what will this label mean to them? Keeping a legacy alive takes work, in this case, long and difficult work. So, for future generations to inherit and carry on this legacy, they must feel a connection to it. This is where we get back to the importance of this weekend. These conferences are an opportunity to connect our community and share our different experiences. This weekend, we pay tribute to the founders of the NAJC 75 years ago, to connect with the experiences and achievements of this community, but also to focus on our community's changing realities, injustices faced by other communities, and what can be done about these. For future JCs to connect with the legacy of activism, we must embrace new issues, build new alliances, and find new ways of engaging people. But this is not possible without the sharing of stories and lessons to inspire and learn from. Our discussions this weekend are also meaningless if they don't lead to action, but they are a critical step to ensuring that we remain a relevant and vibrant community, that we can call Canada a good place for all to live, and for future generations of Japanese Canadians to feel the same pride that I feel. This is one step in a larger journey that won't be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. I know we can make this happen, though, because of the amazing people in our community and in this room. I look forward to meeting and speaking with you all this weekend. I know we can do this. Ganbarimashou. Thank you. Technical difficulties.
Hi everyone, my name is Ronnie Kobayashi, and I'm a first-generation Indian Canadian and a fourth-generation Japanese Canadian. And I've been very lucky to be surrounded by strong leaders in the Japanese community. This includes my aunt, Lynn Kobayashi, who's the president of the Toronto NAJC and one of the organizers of this event. And then also my grandparents, Addie and Bill Kobayashi, who were heavily involved in the redress movements, while my grandfather was also the president of the Toronto NAJC during that critical time. And their activism and community engagement have always inspired me and nurtured my interest in my heritage. I remember writing my final grade 12 English report on Joy Kagawa's Odasan, which I'm sure many of you have read, and sharing my Japanese Canadian history with the class and being shocked at how few actually knew about our past and the injustices faced by this community. And I remember helping my aunt out at one of the redress events when I was 12 or 13, and having conversations here and there with my dad about what it means to be Japanese Canadian. And it was these small exposures to our community and activism that inspired me to get more involved a couple of years ago in the Japanese Canadian community. So I became a member of the NAJC's Young Leaders Committee, where I got to meet other young Japanese Canadians, such as Alex. And I got to be a part of a Japanese Canadian book club, and more importantly, I got to meet other people who wanted to find a deeper connection to their roots. And then I even got the amazing opportunity to be a member of the inaugural Powell Street Festival Youth Cohort this past summer. So I got to travel to Vancouver for 10 days alongside another Japanese Canadian from Winnipeg and a Japanese American from Pittsburgh. And we got to experience the festival, and then we also got to take part in many really cool events and planned trips. So we went to Steveston, we went to the Nikkei National Museum, and most importantly, I got to connect with other Japanese Canadians on the West Coast, people who were so far from me geographically, but who I had so much to connect with and share with. So to me, Inheritance of Activism is exactly what I just described. It's finding people who inspire you, and for me, that's my grandparents and my aunt, and many of the people I've gotten to meet over the last couple of years. And it was an inspiration in driving. It's an inspiration it's a driving force in keeping our community together, and it pushed me to become involved. And once I did, there's just been opportunity after opportunity for me to become deeper involved in the community. And my goal is to one day carry on this inheritance of activism by inspiring someone else. And I'm really excited to be here, excited to see friends and family and meet some new people. And I think I'm going to invite Kristen onto the stage now.
Well, I will admit I wrote the speech basically last night because I've been doing a lot, but welcome everyone. Good morning. We already had a lot of gratitude shared by Lynn. I want to also thank Elder So for a beautiful welcome. And of course Lynn, my excellent co-chair, who has been doing so much over the past several months. She likened it to training for a marathon, which she also does. So, it's been a lot of work, but it's definitely paying off, and seeing all of your faces here is showing that. I also really want to thank everyone who's in this room, all the volunteers. I think half the room is doing something, volunteering or speaking, so we're all really putting this conference on together at the same time. And even people who are participating, you're bringing all of your story and history with you, so we're really glad to have you here. I've been organizing and doing activism for many years, but this is the first time I've been in a room with so many Japanese Canadians working on human rights and activist issues, so I'm really glad to have you. I think connecting and developing both our individual and community identities are really important to root our organizing, so we know where we're coming from and why we're doing what we're doing. So we really want to be sharing, our own histories and stories and learning those if we don't know them yet. And, being Japanese Canadian is a very specific cultural and political identity, I'd say. It also includes many people from many different backgrounds who are here. And whether we were born in Canada or came here, many of us have been displaced or moved, and so we're kind of scattered all over the country. So I think it's really beautiful that we're coming together today, and we're still finding ways to meet up, to work together, and to fight for our own community, but we're also trying to support and connect with other communities at the local and global scale. So it's really an honor to be in this room with all of you. I thank you for being here, and I want us to speak out and share our stories and our histories. So I'm going to share a little bit about mine. My grandparents are Minoru Fujimoto and Kumi Yamanuchi, and they were survivors of internment. They're also, after that, prize-winning potato farmers. My mom worked really hard to get off the farm, and now I'm back in farming. But, I have that legacy, and I'm really proud to be going into it. I always remember, I wouldn't call them activists, but they were very active in the community. My mom is also here today. She's an active member. She's been supporting me since I was very young and supporting me to be able to do the organizing that I'm doing, so it's wonderful to have her here today. And I used to spend a lot of time in the garden with my mom, with my grandma, and I remember just how they were feeding the whole community, right? Growing food and then cooking it and feeding everyone. And I think that's really why I've been inspired to work in food justice, to work in growing and feeding our communities. And, caring for the community, I think, is really rooted to food as well. So I'm glad to have that inspiration. They're not here anymore, but maybe they are somewhere. And I think we can inherit activism not only from our family, but also from our community and our community's legacy. And today, we are here building the legacy for the future as well. So we're looking back, but we're also looking forward. And I hope that this weekend we're really going to be able to share and hear about all the important organizing that's already happening, but also that we'll be inspired to come together in new ways to support our own community, but also connect and support other communities that are fighting for justice and deserve it. So we have a lot of different things that we're going to be talking about, a lot of really great subject matter, not just about Japanese Canadian rights, but about all of the things that we need to be, well, many of the things we need to be fighting for. There's unlimited amounts that we should be doing. So I'm really excited to bring us all together here. And if you look at your orange handbooks, there's some really beautiful handbooks that we've got. These have your agenda also, so this is your kind of guide document. But on page 24, there's some community guidelines. I'm not going to read them all, so you can read them on your own time. But basically, it means take care of each other. That's what the community guidelines are. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and learn together. So we do have a few active listeners in the room. I'm going to get them to stand maybe now. So we have people with orange armbands or active listeners. I think we'll have one more, Izuki as well is coming. But if you ever need to talk to anyone, you should come find one of these people with the beautiful yellow armbands. And they're there to listen. We have some challenging subject matter, so we might have things coming up, and we just want to make sure everyone's supported and that we can support each other. So raise your hand if you can commit to helping other people here, to supporting each other in the room this weekend. Wonderful. Yes, I hear enthusiastic yeses here. So that's great. For me, community care is really the beginning, and then we can start, building that trust and respect, and from there we can start doing the organizing we need to be doing. So I think this is a really good start to have us all do this weekend. To each and every one of you, thank you so much for everything that you're going to bring this weekend. And now we have a beautiful video, so I'm going to get you to turn your attention to the screens, and I'll have a video that's playing. Thank you.
you